Thank you very much, Masood Ashraf, for your session. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to move on with the next session, which is going to be exchanging brands. How can diplomacy help foster business between countries? And for that, we would like to call on stage our worthy guests. First of all, Mr. Philippe, Consul General, Swiss Consulate, Karachi. Sir, please. Mr. Steve Knode, Senior Commercial Officer, U.S. Consulate. Mr. Tahir Mahmood, Business Development Manager, Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Karachi. And as the panel curator for this session, I would like to request Mr. Hammad Sheikh, who is the CEO IBC, to come on stage and join us. Mr. Hammad Sheikh. Yep. Thank you. Would you like to stand here or sit there? Yeah, please. Sir, please. Thank you very much. This is about exchanging brands. How can diplomacy help foster business between countries?
Hello. Well, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank LXY Global and definitely a proud partner today. So I hope just to let you guys know a little bit about the International Business Council. So we have been actually formed as a part of the private sector initiative. And the core mandate basically is to promote Pakistan as a destination of trade and investment by facilitating business linkages. Because of my background with the British Business Centre as well, so I thought it would be a good idea to have a discussion with the diplomatic missions and to let people know about various initiatives which different trade missions are taking. So well, starting from, I guess, Tahir Saab, if you would like to briefly let us know about the trade initiatives, and how you are helping different businesses in Pakistan with respect to the retail sector, and are there any specific interest when it comes to retail, because retail itself is a big which contains consumer products as well as the fashion as well. So if you can start from Tahir Saab and then.
Thank you very much. In terms of retails, retail brands, our challenge is to meet competition, and competition primarily comes from very established international brands. Australia has some excellent products, but the brands are still not international, so we have got to introduce them in Pakistan. Our role as the trade office in Pakistan is to help create awareness for Australia in general, and for those brands in particular. Within those brands, there are, you might be familiar with Gloria Jeans, which is a franchising outlet here in Pakistan, a coffee outlet which has done extremely well. But again, not many people know that this is an Australian franchise model. So similarly, there are a lot of brands that are available in Australia which currently are not available in Pakistan, and we are making different type of efforts trying to introduce them in Pakistan. Right.
Steve.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon. It's tough after lunch for sure to come back and to listen to more presentations, but it really is my honor and my privilege to be here at this conference to talk about retail. I appreciate your question. I think the first thing I want to do, and I'm here sandwiched between two fantastic countries, Australia and Switzerland, and each of us has terrific products to offer, terrific options. And I think it's important, though, that what I want to say is that I am here and we are here as the U.S. Commercial Service, which is the trade and investment promotion agency of the U.S. government, to try and build partnerships here in Pakistan. And I think that's one of the main takeaways. We are here and we are I actually am based in Karachi, and we have an operation that is not just in Karachi, but also in Lahore and Islamabad, so we have the country covered. And we are here to build those business partnerships between Pakistani companies and American companies in any sector. We're here to talk about retail today, but really in any sector. So that's really takeaway number one. Come get my card afterwards. I'm happy to talk to you. There are many ways in which I think we can be helpful. This is an audience of executives and business people who are in retail. So you don't need me to tell you which are the American brands that are here in Pakistan, but I will go ahead and do so anyway. You have seen them, and there are several. I would say that when you're talking about bricks and mortar stores, we have terrific brands like Levi's, and you can get Levi's apparel and other products throughout stores in Pakistan, as you well know. You have Claire's, which does jewelry for tweens and young girls that are also has a presence here. If you like shoes, there's Hush Puppies and Nine West, and if you are into bodybuilding and dietary supplements, we have GNC, and so I could go on and on. Those brands that I just mentioned, I did so on purpose just because they are representative of a number of different sectors in retail. They aren't necessarily the biggest names, but they are well-known names, and they exist here, have been operating here for, depending on the company, for either just a few years or a great number of years. But the number one, I think, area, and you know it as well as I do, where U.S. brands are in retail is really in franchising, and in particular food franchising. So, of course, the McDonald's and the KFCs and the big named franchise outlets that are doing food have been here for a very, very long time. I particularly have had experience, and I've been here since April, so I'm a Karachiite, call myself a Karachiite, and very sad to see mango season go, but still a big fan of the terrific Pakistani fruits. And so as a Karachiite, it of course gives me a great deal of pleasure to see some of these brands represented. And just since I've been here in the last 6 months, we have, for example, Pizza Hut has announced through its local partner a doubling of the number of stores from 75 to 150. Cold Stone Creamery, wonderful ice cream, expanding here. So again, many, many others. Pizza chains in addition to Pizza Hut here as well. So I would say, as I look at it, there are a great number of American brands that are here in retail. A great number of them that you know. A great number of them have been here for a while. A great number of them are expanding and doing very, very well. That's one part of the story. However, as I see the Golutlo sign and sponsorship go right by, I would be remiss to say retail isn't just about stores, especially when you're talking about U.S. technology and U.S. products. Retail, as just about everybody who's come up on this stage has mentioned, is just as much about e-commerce these days, just as much about digital. And if you just look at the sponsor of today's conference, or a number of the sponsors, just not only one, PayActive, for example, Silicon-based American company that is providing solutions that are particularly helpful in retail. Okay? We just had before this presentation of ours the head of NCR up to talk about digital. Of course, NCR used to be National Cash Register and is now evolved into digital. And is very heavily involved in retail, now based in Atlanta. And coming up after us, Retail Next is another San Jose-based company that's doing analytics in software. So when I talk about how these American brands are involved in retail, and to go to your question about what are we doing about it, I would say we are playing as much as we can a supportive role. As the commercial counselor in the U.S. Consulate here, we're supporting these technologies and these brands. We're doing what we can to help them expand in Pakistan. And I think when it comes to retail, the point has been made before and it can be made again. It's not just about the bricks and mortar stores. It's also about the brains behind it and the technology that helps drive retail. And that is, I think, where the United States and U.S. products and technologies in particular play an important role.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me with you today. It's a real pleasure for me to speak a little bit about what Swiss diplomacy is doing or able to do or willing to do to improve trade between our country. I would fully reach what Steve was saying about Swiss companies having their headquarters here as well in retail. We spoke about Nestlé this morning. I just saw a logo of Migros tonight, just before us on the screen, expecting some Swiss business again here. The fact is that Swiss diplomacy is very likely not the reason why this company came here. When we speak about Nestlé, big player in the world, we have 23 Swiss companies installed in Karachi, very big player for the almost all of them, chemical, pharma, bank. They don't need Swiss diplomacy to come abroad. So if we want to consider what a consulate or what an embassy is able to do for Swiss business, we have to be careful in not opening too much expectation. We are here, first of all, to help Swiss company make business here. So this will imply that Pakistani partner will be involved, but this is almost all the part where Pakistani will be mixed into that and very likely make money around it. That means we are not here to help technically or theoretically at least, to help Pakistani company go to Switzerland to sell their products. So this is already a first limit in the system where Pakistan should take care, or is taking care itself of its trade development in Switzerland. Unless some company are going to Switzerland and will create jobs, then the Swiss government will come and show some interest into that. But is it just going to sell products and make you money? Then the Swiss will remain very liberal and open and tell you, okay, do your business, we will help you as much as we can. You will find some barrier again, but this is the limit of it. And what we are doing here is mainly to create a safe environment for the company. Take the example of the recent agreement on avoiding dual imposition that we signed with Pakistan at the beginning of the year. This should help company to develop business. But we are not going to mix with what they sell and how much they will sell and how to improve their sale. We are just trying to put some frame to help our company do business in Pakistan. We have a state where liberalism is very important, and the state try to avoid getting involved into any kind of business development. That means, again, we have a state that is in charge of creating free trade agreement, of signing agreements that will help do business, but not really help people do business self. We have an office in Zurich who is taking care of helping Swiss SMEs. Just to mention it, 97% of the Swiss companies registered anywhere in Switzerland at trade register are SMEs of less than 250 people. It starts with a hairdresser, it goes to IT technology, providing technical pieces for a space shuttle or something else, but it's 90% SMEs. And these SMEs do not always have the resources to start market analyze abroad and to go abroad. So you will see the statistic if you look at them. Many exports from Switzerland are going to the EU. European Union is the biggest partner of Switzerland. It's very neighborhood and it's the simplest. Although because what we produce in Switzerland is generally high-tech technology and added value technology. We import and add value to material and re-export it at a higher price. So we cannot export everywhere our high technology for cost reason, and this is why our partners are mainly the US and Europe. Even China is a partner becoming more important, but that's not the more important of all. So this explains a little bit what we try to do. We have an office in Zurich, I was saying, that is having subsidies from the government of 30 million Swiss francs, which is about $30 million per year. And we have an exportation total last year of 210 billion. So it just makes that we, for every million money that we are selling goods abroad, we spend 250 Swiss francs for export promotion. This is very low, and the resources are very short, and therefore we concentrate the resource on the biggest trade partner we have, US, Europe, and that's where we help our Swiss company try to develop their trade mostly. So Pakistan is not a priority country for that, and this is why we have here the Swiss Business Council, who is trying to make the link between the need of the company in Switzerland and this trade office in Zurich called SGE, who does not really consider Pakistan, like other Asian countries, as a priority for the moment. So this is what.
Thanks, Philip. I think you made a very interesting point regarding the SMEs, because not every company is Nestle, not every company is Gloria Jeans, maybe GNC, right? So the companies who really need support from the consulates or the trade missions are those small guys or those medium-sized companies based in the countries, and it always work like in a bilateral manner, not in a single dimension. So how can those companies approach different consulates? How they can actually seek this support? And what exactly, according to the panel, is the biggest hurdle while selling Pakistan as a market to the SMEs?
The steps are very simple. You can contact, we call ourselves the Australian Trade and Investment Corporation, or Austrade in short. So you can contact us. We have 3 offices, Karachi, Lahore and Islamabad, and we will be able to handhold you and try to find you a partner who is able to provide you the service or product that you are interested in. So that's something that we will be able to do. The second question relates to small and medium organizations. One of the things that we would do at Austrade would be to develop a delegation and take the delegation down to Australia, and when they are in Australia, try to organize meetings, and in order to maximize the value of the delegates, we would take them to Australia when some event is happening. So we take them to a trade event, they attend the trade event, and in a very short period of time, they are able to meet a very large number of Australian organizations, understand what they do and how they could help improving your business in Pakistan in terms of making your business more efficient, or in helping you diversify and introduce new products and services in your current undertaking. So very simple, you can go into our website. Website has a lot of information about us, and we are, as we say, just an email away. So you give us a call or send us an email, we'll be happy to help you and provide you assistance. In case you contact anybody other than the trade office, you are still directed to us. So even if you don't know any of us, whoever you contact within the High Commission, you'll be directed to us, and we'll be able to provide you any information that you would want. Our role is basically to help the Australian companies understand the Pakistan environment, understand who are the key players here, try to give them comfort that the company that is interested in their products is bona fide, is serious, and is also willing to invest time and resources in making the Australian company a success. I'd now pass it on to Steve.
Thank you very much, and very much like Austrade, the U.S. Commercial Service has similar programs. I should just mention, I mentioned an awful lot of American companies, and I think the one we're competing against is Facebook. So there are probably a lot more people in the Facebook one audience than ours today. But actually, speaking of small and medium-sized companies, it's I think important to mention Facebook because that's a great platform for small and medium-sized companies to advertise themselves. And like with Australia, and you were mentioning too, in Switzerland, most of the companies in the U.S. that we work with are in fact small, medium-sized companies. Our definition might be a little bit different. We define, or I should say the Small Business Administration of the U.S. government defines a small and medium-sized business as one that has fewer than 500 employees. Now, 499 employees is quite a number actually, but still, the vast majority are a lot smaller than that. And the way that we work is that, thankfully, and I think it works very well, we have a large network of offices, field offices, in the United States. The United States, of course, is a large country, 50 states, but we have 100 offices across the U.S., which means that even if you're a small and medium-sized company, you're not very far from a U.S. Department of Commerce field office. We call them export assistance centers. And actually, one of the takeaways I want to leave with you is because that is the case, and it is very easy for me and for us here to access just about any company, including SMEs that are interested in exporting in the U.S. through our network, because we have such a large presence in the United States. And just like Australia, and I know that Switzerland and other countries do this as well, we are also bringing Pakistani companies to trade shows in the United States to meet with these small and medium-sized companies as well as other companies as well. I will just highlight 3 trade shows in particular. We have actually every year an agenda, a schedule of specific U.S. trade shows that we lead trade delegations to. And they're in a variety of different sectors, and none is specific to retail. And as the Consul General mentioned, you know, we as well are involved in export promotion. Retail is not, you know, it's not always the sector that is driven by exports per se. It's more about, you know, putting a store. That being said, I will just take an aside to mention that the retail sector in the U.S., as it is here and around the world, is extremely important to the economy of the United States. I think the figures are that 1 in every 4 jobs, roughly, in the United States is in one way, shape, or form tied to retail, which is quite extraordinary. So close to 25%. I think the figure here in Pakistan might be, you know, might be in 17, 18%, something like that. But it's still an important part of our economy, an important part of the Pakistani economy. And so a very important part of, you know, an important part of our economy, and therefore, to be sure, there will be opportunities where we can have, I think, partnerships. But let me just mention a couple of shows in particular that I think might be of interest. Again, when it comes to retail in Pakistan, it's really the franchise and food franchise concepts that have the biggest presence. So we do actually every year lead, and will lead again next year, a delegation from Pakistan and other countries to an annual show called the International Franchise Expo, EFE, which is in New York City. And I believe it's the very beginning of June of 2018. So that's one particular show that we will be leading that might be of interest to the audience here. There's also the annual National Restaurant Association show, which is in Chicago every year in May, which has some elements of retail that I think might be of importance. And there's also a fancy food show in New York in June. Ancillary, but still related to retail. Not specific retail shows, but we will be leading delegations to those shows from Pakistan. And then just finally, one final comment about, you know, the challenges of Pakistan. You know, the reality is that for the small and medium-sized companies, again, just as was mentioned before, in the United States, it's hard enough to find a market that's in the next state, let alone another country, let alone a country that's far away as Pakistan is. So I think that understanding has to come first about what the opportunities are. But we are doing our very best at the U.S. Commercial Service to broadcast those opportunities and to make American companies aware that there are opportunities, as we all know. And I look forward to working with any of you to help make that happen.
Thank you. Philippe?
No, if I remember, the question was about how to contact us first and what are the hurdles. Though even if I say that we are in priority not here to promote Pakistani trade, we are open to get requests at the consulate of any company that would be interested. But don't get me wrong, we get a lot of application that simply I would like to import some chocolate, so tell me, give me a few brands and that will be it. You are all professional into that more than me, and you all know how a business model, a business analysis is very important. So to convince Swiss company to come here, because we have some producers of chocolates, for instance, who would be very likely interested in coming here. The problem is they don't know about the market, they're a little bit afraid, the perception is not the best. If you have the motivation you are able to motivate them to come, I think business opportunities are possible. And then you will come to the difficulties, that might be the tax level, that might be import duties, that might be things like this that you are professional and you know very well. So we are very happy if we can help develop business between Pakistan and Switzerland. It's not easy, we are trying to promote. We were recently in an event in Switzerland where we spoke about opportunity here, and I was expecting people being in Switzerland, so 100 people about being really afraid of coming here for perception, criminality, but no, not at all. The business community, when we spoke about Karachi, no question about it. That was most likely, how can we re-export our revenue? How can we do business with partners? But all business-related questions, not any reason to be afraid of the situation. So I feel the potential is really here, and you have a big potential in this country. So I believe something can be done there for sure.
Right. Thanks, Steve. I think Steve and Philip and Tahir, you also mentioned about one thing about trade delegations, right? So I would like to have one quick feedback from you and the audience as well, that what are the expectations from both sides, right? Because we all know that in Pakistan market or in anywhere in the world, when you are bringing in a delegation, you want to maximize the value, as you also mentioned, right? So if I would like to have one comment from the audience as well, and one from you before we close the session. So I think starting from Tahir sir first, and then we can.
Personally, I find these trade shows very, very useful. These allow you to see the trend, which way is the world going, because I believe very strongly that whichever way the world is going, sooner or later we have to take the same route. So sooner or later, we will see the same thing in Pakistan. So if you look at, the branchless banking, again, something that has been happening in the developed world for a long time. It's happening and it's catching up very, very fast. Because of the way internet availability is increasing and the cost of internet services in Pakistan being very low, I think the penetration would also increase very, very rapidly. So, I find trade delegation to particular events very useful, because in a very short period of time you are able to meet some very senior people who are there. They are there with their products, they understand the market, and they also can give you examples where they have been successful and why they have been successful, and how can their technology and their expertise help you in your business.
No, I would concur. I also would make the point that I think it's important how a delegation is structured. How do you make the best use of your time? So whether we are bringing a delegation of Pakistani business executives to a trade event in the United States, or we're entertaining either on an individual basis or as a delegation, companies that are coming here. I think it's important to do the homework first and set up one-on-one meetings in advance with prospects that are interested. Otherwise, it will be potentially a waste of time to go. But if you do that, and at the commercial service, that is what we do, I think it will be fruitful and useful. So I just would add to make that point. How just going to a trade show or having a structure or having a delegation in and of itself is not going to build business relationships. But if you do it the right way and structure a delegation in the right way and do homework in advance to make one-on-one meetings happen between like-minded partners, I think you can very much increase the chance of success.
No, I would completely share this view, mentioning that for me, delegation and trade show should be reserved to the professional. It's a way of being in contact with other professionals, and I think this is the most positive way of being able to develop trade, and for us, very likely, although the best promotion tool. Trade show, we have some issue in Switzerland because our trade promotion office is not very keen of that. They will rely only on a small number of trade shows in Germany. They are supporting Swiss companies there because if it needs to be really professional. That means as soon as it's public or as soon as it's a mix of people that has nothing to do with the branch, it's not bringing much at the end of the day. But we are supporting this, and we are also I am also in favor of having delegation. We had just one delegation of the Swiss Business Council who went to Switzerland in July. I was speaking about this impression I got from this event. It was really, really good for me to know that the perception of Pakistan was not. And if I may add to that, that recently we had a negative comment from Switzerland coming and saying this is not a criminality that is making instability. This is simply the fact that the Prime Minister was changing, So businessmen are more afraid of instability by a political change than by any kind of violent act that can take place somewhere in Pakistan, just to mention it.
Thank you. Any comment from the audience? Any question? All right. So, yeah, please.
Yes, the mic is on.
My question is to Steve. Steve, can you give us, my name is Syed Haidar, I'm from 21st Century Business and Economics Club. My question is, can you give us any one or two examples of the US diplomacy where the brands have been brought to Pakistan or from Pakistan to US? Any specifics?
Well, I think at the beginning of my talk I gave a lot of examples of US brands being brought to Pakistan. Again, we're at a retail conference, and so I think in particular, as I mentioned in the food franchising concepts, there are quite a number of companies that you know as well as I do, from McDonald's to KFC to Pizza Hut to Cold Stone Creamery, and they keep coming, I have to say. I don't mean to avoid your question, but I do have to say that when companies come to me, and they do, we operate on a business confidential basis with them. So I'm not in a position to be able to share with all of you all of the names that are talking to me, but they're definitely out there. Every single day, it seems, I'm on a conference call with another company in the U.S. The perfect time, it seems, is 8:30 East Coast U.S., 5:30 here. So those of you who bridge that know that you're never available at 5:30 because that's the time for conference calls. I can share with you just anecdotally, just in the last month alone, I personally have had interactions with at least 40 companies. Of either those who are here, looking to come, having questions. So yeah. Now, going the other way, I should mention too that the U.S. Commercial Service is also involved in trying to help Pakistani companies invest in the U.S., And we do that through a program that we call Select USA. So to the extent that any of you in the audience are interested in making an investment in the U.S., that's something that we're here to help facilitate as well. So yes, I think there are plenty of examples.